everyone, it's Emily. I'm the president of the Science Society and I'll be doing this month's Random 101. I don't know if you will be able to guess, but we're talking about plants. I kind of started collecting plants, taking care of plants when quarantine started, like a lot of other people. I mean, I'd been interested in them before and definitely got my fair share of them from IKEA and then promptly killed them. But quarantine is when I actually started to get good at it. So I'm talking to you, giving some plant beginners out there some tips on how to keep them alive, and just some things I've picked up along the way. So yeah, enjoy. I just want to talk a little bit about why I got into it. There's no real concrete reason and there's no right reason to start taking care of plants, but I know that I just wanted something to take care of. I think it's a really fun time to try to anticipate a plant's needs, just because you can't communicate with it, but you kind of can. So yeah, I got into it because of that. I think it's nice decoration in a room. It's nice to look at. If I'm ever working and I'm stuck or anything like that, I can just kind of look up and there's all of my plants, and it's just a nice moment. Green spaces are really good for your brain, so just having that moment to be able to look up at something green and leafy, it's really nice. So the first plants that I ever got, like I said, it was a long time ago, and I got succulents and I killed all of them. So that wasn't really for me, but when quarantine started, the first plants I got were from a nursery. I got some pothos, some spider plants. I'll put some little pictures on the screen of what those are. A snake plant, a prayer plant. I know I'm missing some, but just kind of basics, easy to take care of. I definitely killed a couple of those too, and that's okay. But I still have a lot of them. So yeah, I'll talk a bit about some good ones for beginners. But first I want to talk about what I have now. So this is my pride and joy back here. This is my monstera. There's some really beautiful leaves on here, which are over on the other side, which I can't show you. But I also have some that are unraveling, so these little cones. They're unraveling, so that's exciting. I also have 4 of these, which are pothos, which I love. I have one snake plant. I used to have 2, and then I killed it. And then I have a little, I think it's an areca palm. I think those are really fun. And then what else? I have a corn plant, which is interesting. A rubber plant, which is not doing the greatest right now. I have some lucky bamboo, which are fun. And a peperomia, which is also not doing great. As you can tell, it's totally okay to not be the best with plants. Even if you think that you're doing amazing and suddenly they take a turn, that's okay. That's just how life is, unfortunately. Just know that you're doing the best you can. You're doing amazing. If you have plants, if you want to get into plants, don't be scared about killing them. It's probably going to happen, and that's okay. What I want to get into now is some good plants that I recommend. So the first one is definitely pothos. This is this one here. I love these. That's why I have 4 of them. But they're really easy for students. They let you know when they want water, so they kind of start drooping, which is really helpful. They're very hardy. I think they're beautiful. The one I have is a golden pothos, so it gets kind of some lighter spots in it when it's light outside and it's getting enough light. But they don't need a lot of light, so obviously if they have more, they're going to get the beautiful different colors on them, but they don't need a lot of light, which is really useful for student housing. I also really like snake plants. It's the one over here. Really easy to take care of. Don't get it if you want something to really love and put your heart into. It's not going to survive. It doesn't like a lot of water, so if you like to water it, it's going to die. That's how I lost my most recent one from overwatering, which is really unfortunate. And I'll put in a picture of what that looked like. Another one is a ZZ plant, which I don't have because they're kind of expensive, but they barely need water. 2 of my roommates have a ZZ plant, and I think that they don't like to be watered, period. It's months in between watering. So that's another good one if you tend to get distracted and don't pay a lot of attention to your plants. And then the last one is a spider plant. This is a classic. This was probably like when I was a kid and like in grade 1 and they give you a little plant to take care of. Like that's a plant that I had, was a spider plant. I got a couple of them. I kind of struggled with them a little bit, but now my one is doing really well. It's like up there. So yeah, those are some good beginner plants. If you live in student housing, if you don't have that much time, these are some really easy plants that will probably survive. So I want to give you a couple notes on how I recommend that you buy plants, because there is kind of a trick to it. I have found that my favorite way to buy plants is like from nurseries, because that way you know that they're getting cared for, that they have the right light conditions, and because they're getting like the right light, the right amount of water, the right food, they're less likely to be stressed, and stress in plants like invites pests, which you don't want. So I prefer to get them from a nursery. My roommates I know have had a lot of success on Facebook Marketplace. And if you really need to, if you're really inspired, you can get them at IKEA. I know that they have a great selection. I just haven't had a lot of luck with IKEA plants, but they're definitely there. Something that I do want to say, it's like a big tip, is always quarantine your plants. It's weird sounding, and we all know what quarantining is now, but you definitely want to keep them at least 6 feet away from all of your other plants for at least 2 weeks. So the classic quarantine also applies to plants. Just in case they come with any nasty pests, you don't want that to spread, or any diseases, anything like that, you don't want that to spread to your existing plants. So try to keep them 6 feet apart for the first 2 weeks, then you're in the clear. So now I want to talk about some random tips or some random things that you might want to have if you're planning on being a plant mom. My first one, which I didn't know about in my first year, funnily enough, is fertilizer. So basically just food for your plant. It's really helpful during like the growing seasons. Like there's nutrients in the soil, but that can only get you so far. So definitely having a good fertilizer is important. Something that I started during the winter months was a glow light. So I just have this little light bulb that's like just for plants. I have an adapter for like my lamp that it goes into, and I can put it on for like most of the day when it's like really cloudy outside, so that the plants are getting some kind of light. I know that plants really struggle in the winter, especially because it's a lot of like tropical plants that we have as houseplants, and they're used to like high humidity, lots of sun, warmth, so they're not getting that in a Canadian winter. So it's important to at least give it enough light. Related to that is a hygroscope. It also is like a humidity monitor or something like that, but this tells you like how humid your room is, and then obviously to go along with it, like a humidifier is important. But yeah, it tells you how humid your room is. Like I said, it's a lot of tropical plants that we have as houseplants, so they're used to that humidity. So if you can like monitor how humid your room is, and that's important. I think they say it's like between 40 and 60% or something like that is kind of what you want to aim for. I know that Ottawa is very dry, coming from someone that's not from Ottawa. I think it's really dry here, so having the humidifier and the hygroscope have been like really important for me to like know how much humidity is in the air, and that like knowing that's the reason that my plants are struggling and it's not just because I suck. That's been good. Something that's kind of cool is something called LECA, which I think is lightweight expanded clay aggregate. You can plant your plants directly in that with no dirt. It's basically just pieces of clay that are like expanded and porous. So you can plant your plant in it and then just use it as like hydroponic. So that just means growing in water, I guess. That's an interesting way to do it. I haven't had a lot of luck with it yet, but you can also mix it into soil and it just kind of aerates the soil. Something that happens a lot in plants is root rot, and that just happens from the soil being too wet, not having enough oxygen. So if you can aerate the soil with some LECA, then that's always a good idea, or just having the right potting mix in general. There's lots of information on the internet. Just make sure that when you're getting a plant, you know what kind of soil it likes. I think that's a big thing that people don't really think about. Some cool apps for plants include Planta, which you basically put in your plants and it tells you when to water it. So definitely good if you're just starting out and you don't really know about plant watering schedules. Over time you kind of get a feel for it. I'm still working on it, but over time you do generally get a feel for it. But it's good in the beginning just to kind of keep you on track, making sure that you're not like overwatering, underwatering, which are both bad. There's also a really cool app called Picture This, and I use that to diagnose my plants sometimes. Plants can develop diseases the same way that we do, and sometimes it's kind of hard to identify, again, especially if you're just starting out. So that app has actually been really helpful for diagnosing like issues in my plants. And then a couple other things. One of them is bottom watering. So like I was saying about root rot, it's like a really common problem, especially with like people wanting to overwater their plants. So something you can do is taking a tray and putting water in it and then putting your plant on top. And obviously like there needs to be holes in the bottom of your pot for it to work. So you can see I've drilled some holes into this like IKEA pot. And then you get like a tray, put water in it, and then just put the plant into it. And then that's called bottom watering. And basically the roots are just sucking up just the water that they need and nothing more. So it kind of helps to stop root rot. The last thing that I found to be very helpful is something called neem oil. This is a little bottle of it that I have. Basically this is useful if you have spider mites, which I'll get to in a minute. Basically I just put it into this like, it's a hairspray bottle, but it's fine. And I can spray down the plant if I have spider mites. Let's get into that though. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about was some common issues, including spider mites, that you might run into when you're taking care of plants. So the first one that I really do want to highlight is overwatering. I found this to be kind of a bigger issue than underwatering. So some things that you can look out for overwatering is yellowing leaves at the base of your plant. So I'll insert a couple pictures about what that looks like. Basically the plant is just freaking out. It probably has root rot and it's shedding leaves to compensate, I guess. Very bad for the plant, probably worse than underwatering your plant. So definitely if you get some plants, make sure that you're erring on the side of underwatering rather than overwatering. You can always bring a plant back from underwatering, but overwatering it's not so easy. There's that problem. To fix that, you just monitor your watering. You use some sterilized scissors to cut off the yellowing leaves. It's really important that you do that because they're still like taking resources from the plant, but the yellow leaf is not going to come back. Like once it's yellow, it's gone. It's not turning green again. So making sure that you cut that off so that the rest of the plant can thrive is really important. And then if it's really bad, you can always try to bring the plant back from root rot. You can depot it, look for the rotted roots. So they're supposed to be like white and like hard, but if it's rotten then it'll be kind of brown and squishy. So you want to get rid of those, dunk it into like diluted hydrogen peroxide and then repot it in all new soil, and then just hope. Another issue, like I said, is spider mites. There's a lot of other pests, but I found this one to be like particularly bad. I'll include some footage of what they actually look like, but they're teeny tiny little bugs that kind of look like spiders. And they're on your plants. I think that they eat the plants and suck the liquid out of the leaves. I'm not entirely sure, but they're really bad for your plants. So I've had like some long battles with spider mites, and that's what my neem oil is for. So always stay on the lookout for pests like that. I'm sorry about the lighting. It is what it is. Speaking of lighting, another issue is too much or too little light. So if there's too much light, your plants can get scorched. Always make sure that you look out for how much light your plant actually wants, because there's some of them, like you might think that all plants want a lot of light, but there's some that really cannot be in direct sunlight or else they'll scorch. So basically like their leaves will just turn brown, like they're sunburned. So that's definitely a big issue, but I think a more common issue would be too little light. So kind of signs of that is that your leaves are small, and the plant is like reaching. If your plant looks really leggy, like there's a lot of space in between like leaves on the stem, like this isn't the worst, but it's also not great. That can tell you that your plant is reaching towards the light and they want more light. So if you find that happening, try to put them in a different position or get a grow light, something like that. It's not gonna kill your plant probably, but your plant's just not gonna be like as leafy and beautiful as it could be. So that's basically everything that I have. If you have like any questions about plants, you can always reach out to me. I'm not an expert by any means, like I'm still learning, but I would be happy to try to help. So if you have any like troubleshooting things or want any tips, then definitely reach out. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you're inspired to go and get some plants, and if you already have some, I love that for you. Me too. Yeah, that's it. Have a great day.